This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard, and we're really excited to be with you today. We've got another awesome guest on the show today, and I'm really excited to introduce her, have her talking with the audience here on how to deal with some of the biggest challenges that we are dealing with in business today. As a business coach, I talk to a lot of leaders all over the world, and they all have very similar challenges and frustrations right now. And that is, how do you grow and scale your business smartly, without breaking things, without causing problems? And so today we're going to be talking to an expert who helps people grow and scale businesses in a really best practice manner by delegating, by empowering others, and helping other people operate at their best so the whole company can grow and scale as a team, as it should. And so today we have the privilege of having Nicole Grinnell on the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Nicole. She's the founder of two different organizations. One is called Bosun, which is a boutique staffing firm, a remote staffing firm. The other company that she runs is called Mic'd Up, which is a podcast booking agency, matching podcasters with people that want to be on the podcast to share their knowledge, share their skills, and really contribute and help people gain knowledge and insight. Nicole has got over 15 years of executive support experience, helping over 500 businesses grow to their next level of success. And so it's a real privilege to have Nicole on the show. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that great introduction and appreciate what you're trying to do for your audience as well.
Well, that's what the our podcast is about. It's about, bringing awesome people on the show that have done great things in their world and their space with their expertise and talents, and how to kind of share some of that with other people that are up and coming, that are innovating, that are looking to do bigger, better things, that may not have all the answers to all life's questions and all the business challenges out there, to just help them, with even just one or two golden nuggets of information that we can all learn from each other from, can make all the difference in the world. So excited to have you.
Well, I appreciate it.
So Nicole, tell us more about you. Tell us about your background and how you got started in this area of expertise that you're in, and how you got to where you are today. What's your story?
Yeah, well, so I grew up in small business. My parents owned a medical lab that they eventually exited and sold to LabCorp. And so we were always working. That was definitely a huge piece of my childhood. And so I really kind of grew up with this unique space of seeing my parents and what the stressors were as a business owner and everything that was involved in that, while also working alongside their employees and hearing the stresses and needs and wants and desires of employees. And I was kind of in the middle of that, right? And so I did translate my career into corporate life, and I found that I always had this just, passion for supporting small business owners. And I think what made me excel as an executive assistant was I took that same type of mindset and supported my executive in that way. And so I always found myself doing much more than just an EA would, but really providing financial, operational, project based, all of those types of things that came with it. So my executive actually retired. And so in 2017, I thought, well, maybe I'll become a virtual assistant. That was like a big buzzword there. But what I found in starting that was there was this huge need for business owners to have some type of fractional support. They were either in that place where they maybe couldn't afford, or they didn't have a job that warranted a full time person. Maybe they didn't want to get into having an employee, but there was work that needed to be done. And so what I found very quickly was this is a need. And so I flipped the business very quickly and got out of being virtual assistant and decided to really go after matching essentially the workforce that wanted to work fractionally with business owners that needed that support and brought them together. And that's really how Bosun came to be.
Wow. So what was it like for you in that journey, right? So you grew up in kind of this entrepreneurial family setting. I'm very familiar with that. Did the same thing myself. To go from that to corporate back to running your own
Yeah.
business, right? This sounds like the first business that you personally took on yourself. What was that experience like for you?
I think it honestly gave me the best of both worlds. There's a lot of each world that there's pros and cons with everything, right? So I was very nimble, very quick on my feet of being able to pivot, figure out ways, maybe outside of the box to accomplish the goal. And that was my entrepreneurial background, right? And then there was corporate structure that I learned. I really value kind of a hands-on education, even though I did go to college and had an education, but I learned so much more from working alongside executives, understanding their decision making, be in financial reviews, and I'm, learning all of that. So that's just experience that I don't believe any textbook can teach you. And so coming out of that, I
Mm.
had structure from corporations. I understood how to read a P&L, make a pro forma budget. I knew all of that through my corporate life, but I also had this nimbleness and this ability to figure it out, to find out what your customer needs and pivot very quickly, that my entrepreneurial background definitely supplied me with.
Wow. So, what were some of the big takeaways out of corporate that you learned? Obviously, you learned some things from some of the folks you worked with, leadership and how to, kind of manage and juggle a lot of balls at one time. What were some of those big rocks for you that that you've taken in that you think are some of the biggest advantages you're able to help your clients with as they grow?
So I think the biggest thing was for me and in my position as an EA was I was always kind of tasked with making sure something got done. So I was having to work with a lot of different departments. So you learn how to work with a lot of different personalities, understanding what motivates different people, understanding how to come in and collaborate. And so that's helped me even within my own business, my own internal team, but also with dealing with clients is understanding where they're at, what they think they might need, what they really need, what their budget is, and kind of working through all of that to find ultimately a solution. And so, I always supported operational functions. My last role, I supported the COO and one of the founders. So I was working with a lot of different departments and ultimately able to figure out those solutions that was for the task that I was given.
Yeah. Yeah, that's critical. One thing I hear in your voice and your tone and how you're talking about these things with so much passion is, one thing comes out of that to me, and that's problem
Mhm.
solver. When you're working across the span of different departments and groups of people, supporting a senior leader, you got to be, almost like jack of all trades, master of none kind of a thing. I mean, did you ever feel that way?
Oh, I still feel that way. Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest key to success is just being willing to figure it out, to try it, not being afraid of failure, and just looking for that solution, whatever that is, whether it's a business opportunity, whether it's management, whether it's something a client needs. But I think where I see entrepreneurs struggle is if they are too pigeonholed, or it has to be
Mm.
perfect, or this is the way things get done, or we've always done it this way. That is not the life of a business owner. And you really need to bring in
Right.
people on your team that also have that same mindset, because while structure is very important and you want to make sure that you have processes, you also need a team that is nimble enough to work for that solution.
Yeah. So as you transitioned out of corporate, you go into business for yourself, you see some of these needs out there, well, not some, a lot of these needs out there, and you created a business. You it was kind of interesting as you were talking because you went to market with one
Mhm.
set of thoughts, and then there was a point, I don't know how long into it, a year, 2, 3, whatever it was, that you adapted to the market. I think that is so critical because I and I want to get your take on this. I've met so many people that have really good ideas about their business and really, products and services and really cool, innovative, earth-shattering stuff they want to do, and yet they don't have a lot of market analysis to go off of and what the appetite of the market's going to be, and they go to market and it doesn't go very well,
Yeah.
and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to pivot and adapt. So how was that for you? You went to market, you learned some things, and you decided to take a different direction. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually pivoted within, like, 30 days, probably even less. So I knew that I
Awesome.
had tapped into a need. So what you described is exactly it. It was like I had more work than I could possibly do, and that's where kind of the realization of like, oh, this isn't just like I could work 40 hours as a virtual assistant. This is a huge need. And now let me figure out how to make this a business. So I think anybody who's starting with an idea, a product, a service, or whatever, I always encourage people, even if you're just starting, go to some chamber events, go to a networking event, pitch that. That is a free focus group for you to hear what people think of
Mm,
it, poke holes in it, craft your elevator speech and hear what the market is demanding. So you may think that like this widget is the best thing, everyone is going to want it, and you may go to into a focus group or a networking event and everyone's like, I would love that if it had this. Or you know what would actually be more helpful is if it could do
mm.
this. And so doing that when you first start out, like don't invest in a $50,000 website. Don't buy all your inventory. Go and hear from people who are prospective customers and hear their feedback on branding, on the product, on the service. And we did that at first too. We joined a local BNI, and even though we thought like, okay, we've
Mm.
tapped into something here, that helped us hone our messaging, what the services we were going to offer, what was profitable, what wasn't, who was a good client for us. So you just always have to be looking and listening to your clients and what's coming out trend wise. I mean, even during COVID, we opened up 3 more lines of service in our own staffing. So constantly staying ahead of what the market's demanding, what your customer needs, and being willing to pivot really quickly, I feel like is what leads to that success.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Really great advice. A lot of easy, low to no cost options out there for you to connect, pitch, practice, get feedback. I would even add on to that that if you identify your perfect client that's best suited to buy your product and service, and you go research in your local town the top 5 people that fit that description and just go knock on their door and say, "Hey, I'm interested in going to market with this to meet these
Mhm.
needs. Would you be interested in doing, some kind of feedback with me? Would you be interested in taking a look at this? And if this works, maybe we give you some discounts if you're interested in doing like a pilot project or something where you have your ideal buyer telling you really important things like, yeah, somebody else already does that
Mhm.
and it's way better than yours. I wouldn't try to replicate that. I would focus on these 3 things that is not already solved yet, right? And that is critical in addition to the things that you say that you've already mentioned, Nicole. Got another question here.
Yeah.
What are, as you've gone through this transition of your own business and then you're out there working with these other business owners and entrepreneurs to help them figure out things to move their business forward, what are some of the top trends you're seeing? What are some of the things that are kind of common in between the folks that you're serving?
As far as industry, or sorry, I may have to explain that question more.
As 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 far as the needs and the issues and the challenges they're experiencing out there that you're helping them with.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, in fact, I was just at a conference last week, and they were talking about how this individual had gone into Fortune 500 networking event. And she said it was funny because, no matter the scale or the size of the business revenue, everyone's number one problem was people. So that's a problem that never goes away.
Yeah.
Whether you're a solopreneur or you're running a multi-million dollar corporation, people is your biggest headache, your biggest cost, your biggest liability. I mean, it's so much in that. And so, really, what we set out to do was to take that element and reduce as much as that risk overhead, maybe even not to your stage of needing that yet for the business owner. So, there are stages of business that require different levels of delegation. And so we set out to say, okay, for, Mr. Entrepreneur, that you are maybe working by yourself, maybe you have one other employee, but now you're starting to feel those pain points where things are getting missed, drop balls are getting dropped, and you need to bring in someone, but it doesn't warrant a full time, or you don't have the budget for
Mm,
that. We want to be able to solve those problems. And additionally, we have a workforce right now that is wanting that flexibility. And they are not wanting
mm.
necessarily, I think this generation values different things than generations have in the past. And so it's really bridging a need and a want together and finding that for business owners. And it's been just wildly successful in allowing entrepreneurs to scale and be profitable as they do so.
Yeah. One thing about the one common thing that I see a lot is the most successful entrepreneurs are the most flexible or nimble.
Hmm.
Their ability to adapt. I just had a conversation less than an hour ago with one of my clients that's in a technology sector, and he's looking to hire some people, and he's concerned, and he's very risk
Hmm.
adverse, and he was talking about hiring employees in the traditional sense of W-2 and benefits and all the things that go along with that. And then he's like, "What? You know, if I'm worried that if I don't have like more work coming in after that, I'm just worried about feeding them more work and making sure the more work comes in and we're gainfully employing them." And I'm like, why are you worried about that?
Yeah.
One, the work is coming in, like you are growing, you are scaling, the demand for what you do is tremendous. So that's not really an issue, but you have options. Why you thinking W-2?
Right.
You have 1099 options. You have all kind of other work options to where you can throttle the hours, you can throttle whatever. And there are people out there that like to freelance. They'll work for you for 10 hours, work for somebody else for 10, 20, 30, whatever. People love that.
Oh, yeah.
And you just kind of, adapt to your needs and pay for, on demand services almost. And he was very puzzled by that. He was like, "Well, I haven't really thought of that." I was like, "Well, you should."
Yeah.
And we had probably a 25-minute conversation about that, and I gave him some homework to do some research on how to do that. Clearly, I need to connect him with you and how you can maybe present some options to him.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny that you say that because we work with a lot of coaches for that exact reason. They're coaching their client on that, but inevitably there comes this piece of like, well, go find them. And so we really want to be able to be that source to say, and I think that's what makes us different is that we're not just the connecting, we really are building that relationship. We look for long-term fits. Most of our team members are there with our clients for 3 to 5 years. Some have been with them for 8 years. So we are not
Hmm.
a on-demand typing pool. You just get who you get. We're building a job description for you, even if it's only 5 hours a week, and we're sourcing for that. We're understanding the growth opportunities for this role. And then we're assigning our clients a relationship manager to really manage that. And then expand on those needs. So, I see Sally's working great for you, Bob. Things are busy. I know we talked about maybe a bookkeeper. Are we ready for that role? Great. Let us go source that for you. So, we almost are serving as an outsourced HR department, a business coach, and a recruiter all in one, bringing them as they have those needs. They don't have to think about it. They just know, let me call Bosun and they're going to give me my next person.
I love it. Love the business model, and it's in so much demand for this type of thing. You're right. The workforce today is made up predominantly. The biggest pool is millennials and Gen Zs, right? The baby boomers are not the biggest portion of the pie of workforce out there, and people want more freedom. They want more autonomy. They want more ability to work in ways that's best suited for them, that also connects with the right organization that's a good fit, right? Long gone are the days, the old traditional days of going into the office and working your 9 to 5, and
Right.
that does still exist out there, like in, banks and stuff like that that have very, specific needs, but more and more that is not the case. People want to be nimble and to be adaptable. And a lot of businesses want to minimize the risk of something like a COVID happening, some kind of major disruption in the economy that really throws everybody for a loop, and you can throttle a lot easier versus feeling really bad about having to fire people or lay people off. You can really be nimble in that process. So for folks out there, and there's a lot of them out there that aren't familiar with the things that we're talking about, Nicole, talk to us a little bit about your process. Like, who's best suited for remote work, and the types of things you and your team are doing? What's that process look like? How does that feel? What is that experience? How is that different than traditional ways?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say to anybody that's even looking at bringing in help is really analyzing, are you in a place that you are no longer revenue generating because you're working on in your business? So that's the first kind of step. Is if you find yourself, if I'm revenue generating when I am out coaching clients and I find myself doing 6 to 7 hours a day of administration, that's a tipping point. Or if you are finding that things are slipping through the cracks, you realize there is money in my inbox. I am not following up. I am going and having these amazing meetings and they will stop cold there. So, wherever that is, and if you start to feel their pain points, then what we're able to do is really sit down with a client and walk through their budget and what they're looking to do, walk through the items that they're looking to delegate, and then build out that job description and work with their budget to get those items taken care of, because those are very crucial in business. And so we're able to bring that in as a fractional role, and still support them in that. And then hopefully that obviously leads to more growth and they're able to continue on from there. But really just kind of, as a business owner, where things are falling short. It could be bookkeeping. It could be I don't have the social media presence I have. I'm not following up with things. I really could use a project manager on this piece of my business, whatever that looks like. But when you start to feel those tipping points, that's when it's time to really look at delegating.
Gotcha. What are some of the fears, when you're out there talking to business owners and they're looking to grow? It's kind of scary for people, right? They may be going into waters they've never been before. They don't know what the other side of the mountain looks like if they've scaled and grown to the certain level. Yeah, there's a lot of fears and trepidation with folks on how to do this and not lose control of things, and things getting crazy on them. What are some of the top fears that you help people overcome in this process? Because, it's new. Some of this is really new to people. How do you ease them through this?
Yeah. Well, I think any responsible business owner does feel that weight of bringing in a team member. I mean, you should feel that weight. It's a big responsibility, it's someone's livelihood. So you should feel that weight. And so what we want to be able to do is really walk them through why this takes out a lot of that risk and that burden and that feeling. I mean, some people can almost be paralyzed by it, and it just becomes this frantic feeling to have more business to support their team. And so what we really want to do is, walk through really what their budget can afford, and we want to walk through that. We have a lot of clients that this is their first time even managing someone, so we have to guide them on how all
Right.
that goes. And so we put in parameters within our relationship management where they're doing every 30-day calibration calls with their team member. What's working, what isn't, what can we delegate more of, how's communication going. So we really are serving as, a relationship coach, a delegating coach. I mean, a lot of people don't even know how to begin to start sending work to someone. So
Hmm.
there's just, you really have, I don't want to use the word friend, but you really have a guide and a friend by your side as you begin to bring these team members in. And we want to set you up for success. We want to make sure that you are seeing the growth that you want to out of this role and in your business. And hopefully that leads to more team members and more revenue for your company.
Yeah. Excellent. Y- As you're working with folks, have you noticed anything that are like maybe pitfalls? Maybe, what does the business leader need to be thinking about? How do they need to prepare themselves, their other staff members, the company in general? How do you prepare for this? What do you need to be doing to, you know, hire you and your folks to do the things that you're doing to support them in a remote kind of virtual manner? Are there some pro tips there that you could share?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing is just communication. So even if you feel like you are the busiest business owner, you can't even imagine setting time to speak to a team member, even just 10 minutes on a Monday to debrief on what's going on. They can explain to you any items that they might be needing, things that they plan to work on. Communication is key, and it's the only way that that relationship is really going to be successful and build. So even though it's remote, we need to still have a good relationship there for that to be successful. So planning on that and making sure that you're in a place to give that effort. But we tell business owners, like, don't feel like you have to come and have like this whole procedure manual or a whole job description. That's what we do. That's what we walk through. That's what we support. That's what we help build out for you, because it is overwhelming and a lot of people are a one-man show. And so we want to be able to use the tools and the expert advice that we have to walk them through that.
Okay. So, trust that you're pros, trust your people, that you're going to make a good fit, a good alignment, and establish the good line of communication and expectations, and trust the process. A lot of folks want to control things too much. They're used to controlling everything, and then this is feeling like I'm letting go of some control, which creates anxiety. But that's the value of Nicole and what she does with Bosun and her people, is allow you to do this in a best practice way, because she's doing this all over the world with people, and they've done it really, really well. And they know exactly how to tailor things to you to meet your needs. I'm assuming, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nicole, from your experience of working with a lot of different people, are there any things you can shed, insights that you've picked up along the way that you can share that may highlight some, typical kind of mistakes people make, or situations that can get created that can, cause issues or something like this to not work?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, one, like you mentioned, not trusting the process for sure. I always like to say when people are just really resistant, it's like, do you go and hire a lawyer and represent yourself in court? Like, no, you don't. You're hiring them because they're the experts, right? So
I hope not.
yeah, so it's the same with us. Like this is what we do. But also just, being really unwilling to delegate. Some people can say they want to delegate in theory. The thing I say all the time is you may be shocked not only how well they do, but they will probably do it better than you. And not because it's indicative of you as a business owner, but they're an expert in that field. They're an expert in that craft. And that's what they're being brought in to solely focus on. I mean, I'm a business owner too. I get it. You can bounce from financials to creative to managing 10 people to, I mean, there's no way we can be, I mean, you said it, master of none, right? Like we are juggling a lot of hats. And when you bring in someone that is an expert in that field and have them focused on just that task, the results are astounding. They really are. And it frees you up where
Right.
you need to be, right? I mean, I'm the only one that can represent my company in the way, bring the vision that I want for my company. So I also need to be in that seat. I don't need to be looking at social media posts and what we're going to post this week. That's not where my
Right.
time is utilized. So if people can really get that and begin to release that control, trust the process, start seeing those results, it really is very freeing. It really is freeing for the business owner.
It sure is. Connecting with the right kind of people that's got the same values, morals, and principles, work ethic, customer service, mindset is important because when you outsource, what if you hire W-2 people, 1099 people, contract work with vendors, suppliers, folks like you that provide the people support of things. Either way, you've got to think about it as they're your team.
Mhm.
Whether they're a contractor or not, W-2 or not, it doesn't matter. They're all part of your team, and you need to lead them
Mhm.
and engage them as they are a key valuable member of the team. As a business owner myself in my coaching practice, I have had folks doing some things for me that weren't best suited for what I was trying to do. There was some misalignment there. It was frustrating. It really was frustrating. But eventually you'll recognize that. Hopefully you'll do things better to vet that out in the process so that you can ensure you're connecting with the right types of people and partnerships. But boy, I'll give you an example on the marketing side of things. I had a couple of issues on the marketing side, and then I connected with the marketing agency that's been doing my stuff for the past almost 2 years now, and it was night and day difference. This group's taken so much stuff off my plate. They're top notch. They've got my voice down. They've got my
Mhm.
brand down, and it's just so much easier. But
Absolutely.
we meet every month and we look at metrics and results and how everything's going and where we're going to improve and what's next steps. And I do that with them and sales, podcast, and all the things that I do in my business.
Mm.
I meet with all of these people, and we have kind of like staff meetings just like you normally would in a corporation or a bigger company, right? That's critical. So on top of like Nicole's great advice, those are some things to think about as well. Don't think about contractors and vendors as, just people taking all the dirty work you don't want to do, and they're there to work for you and do all the dirty deeds. No, treat them like you would any other employee that's working for you as normal. They're part of the team. You need them. You can't do things without them because you're never going to be the expert at all things.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you agree or disagree?
100%. I mean, I have 2 companies and I only have 1 full-time employee. So, all my team meetings,
Wow.
all my team retreats, everything is in fractional employment. So I mean, I practice what I preach. I think this is the way to scale and be
Yeah.
profitable in your businesses. But I have a social media manager that works 5 hours a week. I have a direct assistant who works 10 hours a week. I have a billing coordinator that works 20 hours a week. So, but they still look and feel like my team. I treat them as such. I bonus them as such. I bring them in for team collaboration as such. So it's not that this is like a day laborer situation. This is just a different way of look
Right.
at bringing in your team. That's all it is. And that's really what we preach to
Yep.
our clients. Like this is a and that's why I mentioned the tenure. Like I literally have it's a huge Manhattan-based law firm. They have a legal assistant with us that has been with them for 8 years. No one would ever know they are in a
Wow.
contract status. I mean, we want it to look and feel. We build org charts for our clients with their contractors with us. So it's a team environment. It's just a profitable way to build your team.
That's right. You know, I think the bottom line is, at least from my perspective, and you can agree or disagree with me, Nicole, is that the world's full of really good, talented, smart, energized people. People complain all the time, oh, there's no good people out there. Everybody's taken up, and it's hard to keep people. They don't show up on time. And yeah, there's a lot of struggles out there, right? The workforce is very tough right now. But at the end of the day, the people are out there. They're all over the place. They are all over the place, all over the world. You just have to think about people differently and how to engage them differently.
Mhm,
At the end of the day, you need the best of the best doing whatever you need done in your business for it to thrive and succeed. At the end of the day, there are people out there that are really good to do those things.
mhm,
They're experts at those things. And finding that right fit for you, figure out how to make that
mhm,
work. They all don't have to be W 2s. In fact, I would discourage you from hiring all W 2s.
mhm.
You need a very diverse, dynamic workforce, not just in, you know, ethnic backgrounds and male female kind of
Right.
things, but diverse in other areas as far as how they work, how they're compensated, when they work for you. Sometimes you don't need somebody there from 9 to 5 when you're there. They can actually work, in the off hours
Mhm.
on the stuff that's, not customer facing or things like that. So just encourage you to think about that. Any other thoughts there, or agreements, disagreements?
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree with all of that. I think it's just it's really, and that's part of what I'm doing. And I think what you're doing is so great. And this is just providing education for, and resources for business owners that maybe don't know that this exists, don't know how to get started, don't know that this is even an option. And so that's part of what we really do in our mission in doing podcasts is to just educate so that business owners don't feel stuck and they don't get what I saw my parents do, right? Where they had to wait until financially they could bring in a full-time person. And if they didn't, it was all falling on us.
Yep.
So the gone are those days, and there are so many other options for business owners to bring in that help needed to scale.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here because as I've gotten to know you, you seem to have coined a term called mompreneur.
Yeah.
What is a mompreneur, and how did you what is that? And share your brilliance around what that is. And it's really cool. I want you to describe it.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, really, it's just about, I am a mom. And one of the reasons that I started the company was so that I would have that flexibility, but really making sure that my mom and family duties and tasks and priorities all really kind of stayed at the forefront. And that's really something that we have even internally with our own team. Families come first, even down to the contractors that we're working with. So it's really for me just more making sure that that is always first and foremost. Yes, mom works, but mom is always going to be at everything that is needed for my kids. I'm now in that home stretch. I only have 2 years with both of them at home. So that's becoming even more precious time for sure. But it really is just acknowledging that and being very open about that, even with your team members, that this does come first. And I do believe that, speed of the leader is speed of the team. So if I'm taking off for things that my children need or breaks, whatever, I'm going to extend that same courtesy to my team and let them know that that is first priority, even within our own company.
Wow. That's really, really cool. When did that kind of come to fruition for you, and how to implement that kind of mindset and way of thinking into your, personal and professional life kind of coming together there?
I think that's always been a thing for us. So when my children were young,
Yeah.
I did not work. I exited corporate life. At that time, 2006, 2007, there were not a lot of options for any kind of
Mm.
hybrid remote. I mean, you worked or you didn't. And so I really kind of thought I never would go back into the workforce, as crazy as that sounds, because being an EA, the hours were always extremely long on call. It was it's certainly not conducive to just being a mom. So honestly, my big plan was, well, maybe I'll go work at Starbucks while the kids are at school, and that will be the extent of my career ever. But some opportunities came in my lap that allowed me to really be there when my children were home from school, and allowed me to stay home during the summers. And so that spiraled into this. And so it's always been, my personal belief is that me working is a luxury. I love to work. I enjoy the accomplishment aspect. I enjoy giving back. But it's a luxury. And so we've never built my our life around me working. I can essentially walk away anytime if mom duties or family duties require so. So for me, it was never like, oh, I'm building this company. Let me make sure that I let everyone know I'm a mom. It was, I'm a mom, and this is going to be something that I'm going to have to work around being a mom.
Yeah. A lot of moms, females that I've encountered over the years, there's like a guilt factor with the females, because you're expected to be the mom and take care of the kids, and then moms want to work, they want to contribute, they want to feel they're making an impact in the world. They just don't want to, you know, just do one thing or another, right? They're have a lot to offer. And I think, the concept of what you're talking about is powerful. You can live whatever life you want to live. If you can have a family
Hmm.
and you can work and you can make money and you can contribute and you can give back and you can live a well-rounded holistic life, as a female or anything else out there in the world, and you can have it all. It does exist. You just have to think differently.
Yeah. And I think there's compromises in that. I mean, I think there's times where I mean, there's no way to truly do everything and do everything well. But I think that there are compromises within that. So you have to get creative even in your delegation at home. You have to get creative in having your children be a part of your work or chores or things to do at home. So there's certainly not like I am, whipping up a 7 course meal every night. I mean, there's nights we're just ordering pizza because that's the way my day went. So, but it really is a balance. And I think as long as you are connected with that with your family, and really having those conversations and making sure that priorities are straight. We're very big in when I know that things are going to be really out of whack and really busy, going to my family and being like, this is going to be a hard season for right now. This is what I have coming up. I'm going to need everybody's help. And then taking those breaks to really kind of go and spend that quality time with them. We're big travelers. We love to take and just completely unplug and be with our kids and do those things. So that's how we've figured out that balance. But make no mistake, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and you got to be willing to work because those things don't go away.
Takeaway is you can have a successful, thriving business, career, whatever, and be a balanced parent and contributor to society. You can live healthy. You can achieve an ideal life
Hmm.
that you define for you. It's possible. However, you do have to think differently and you do have to be willing to make some decisions and some sacrifices. And Nicole, thank you for sharing that, because I think that is a really, I'll say, relatively new concept, but it's still being adopted. It's still being kind of melding into our workforce of how to do these things differently. I think COVID really forced people to think differently and adapt and really prioritize things in their life and get out of the maybe the rat race they were in before. And so that's a great testimony. Thank you for sharing that. And as we come towards the end of this podcast episode, which I feel like, Nicole, we could talk for a lot longer.
Absolutely.
But as we kind of come to the end of this particular session, what are the top three things that you feel are the most important that you want people to take away from this?
Yeah, I'm gonna totally butcher this quote, but I do love it. It's the one that's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go long, build a team or something along that. I'm totally butchering that. But I mean, I think inevitably you have to bring in a team. You are only going to be able to go so far by yourself. And I know us as entrepreneurs think that we can do everything and we will do it perfectly and no one can do it better. But I can tell you, as a card carrying member of all those thoughts, that is so not true. And I am so thankful for my team because they do take me further and do allow me to do what I need to do and want to do. And they complete tasks much better than I ever could. So, really getting to that mindset and just starting to learn to delegate that, starting small. You don't have to bring in your CFO as your next role. Start small, learn that process, learn how to manage, learn how to delegate. And you will start to feel that freedom and that release. And one day you'll look up and be like, wow, I have a whole day open. And you'll start to feel that and then realize, okay, now I can be very strategic with my business. And that's ultimately, as a business owner, where you want to get to.
Wow. Powerful advice. Really great. Um, Nicole, thank you so much for your time today. You've, I think, helped plant some really good healthy seeds in people's minds about how they work and how they can do different things to grow and evolve and scale and be where they want to be in their business or their life. Thank you so much. If
Absolutely.
people want to reach out to you, talk with you, learn more, engage you in any way or shape or form, how they contact you?
Absolutely. So they can go to our website, which is bosun solutions.com. So bosunsolutions.com. And we would be happy. You can go on there and just reach out to us, and we would be happy to just get to know you, learn about your business. I could nerd out on business all day long. So always enjoy a conversation and would love to connect with your audience.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much. Folks, that's it for today's show. You won't want to miss next week's show. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to make your company more successful and eliminating waste in the process. Don't want to miss it. We got a really great person on the show. Nicole, thank you. Reach out to her. We're going to put all her information in the show notes so you can connect with her and learn more. Have a great week, everybody.